You've been told to improve balance, to stand on one leg, close your eyes, maybe use a foam pad, and just hold it, right? But let me ask you something. If that actually worked, why do so many people still feel unstable? Why does, balance still quietly decline? Even in people that train consistently. Here's the part that no one tells you. Balance is not a strength problem. It's not even a coordination problem. It's actually a confidence problem. But not your confidence overall per se, but your brain's confidence in your body. And when that confidence starts to drop, everything changes. You move slower, you feel tighter, you hesitate, not because you're weak, but because your brain is no longer sure what's going to happen next. And when the brain senses uncertainty, it shifts into protection instead of performance. And that's when you're going to feel less stable. And that's where decline begins, not in your muscles, but in the system that controls them. And the worst part, most workouts never address this. They build control in predictable environments, but life is not predictable. It constantly throws curveballs at you. There's something different all the time. So today, we're not going to work on balance. We're going to change how your brain decides if you're stable or not. Because once that shifts, everything else gets easier. Movement gets easier, performance and longevity, because it isn't about doing more exercises. It's about training the system that decides what your body is allowed to do. Welcome, I'm Heike Fallon. I'm the founder of Xpand Health and the creator of the NeuroHP Method. I combine neuroscience, sports therapy, and personal performance coaching to help leaders, athletes, active people like you optimize their health, personal performance for longevity. For over 30 years, I've studied the brain and body and their connection, and today I want to share how to integrate brain-based balance training into your workouts in a way that actually transfer to real life and long-term performance. And before we go into it, make sure you grab my free PDF guide. It's in the description below. There's a link, so just click it, download it, and work with it, enjoy it. And let's dive in, because most people train balance like this. They stand on one leg, again, maybe close their eyes, maybe add a foam pad, and they think, I'm working on balance. But what's actually happening is repetition without clarity. Because balance is not a skill of your muscles. It's a negotiation between your brain and your environment. And if your brain doesn't feel certain, it limits output. And that's when you see that wobbling, the tightness, the overcorrection, or even fatigue. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is not convinced that you're safe. And here's the part that matters for longevity. That negotiation happens faster as we age, which means small uncertainty leads to bigger restrictions. And that's where decline begins, not in the muscles, but in the system that controls them. When you balance, three major systems are involved. Your visual system, what you see, right? Your vestibular system, that's your inner ear. How your head moves in space, and your proprioceptive system, where your body is positioned in space. But here's what often is missed. These systems don't just give information, they influence decision making. And your brain is constantly asking, can I predict what's about to happen? And if the answer is unclear, it reduces the movement. So that's why people feel that stiffness and slow and unstable, even when they strong, because strength is not the limiter, prediction is. So when your brain can predict clearly, it reduces the options, not effort. So my client of mine, high performing, executive, very active, did strength training for years, but she kept saying, I just don't feel stable anymore. Even though I'm working out, there's no injury, no major issues, just started feeling that I have the hesitation when I want to do something, especially when moving fast or changing direction. She just felt like, want to be more careful. And we didn't do more strength training. We changed the input. We worked on head positions, foot awareness, very important for balance, and timing. Within 2-3 sessions, her feedback was like, I feel like I can, move with more confidence. Nothing about her muscles really changed. What changed was the brain's certainty, and that changed everything. So let's make it a little practical, right? So let's do a little foot mapping. Follow along, get up, stand up. Ideally, you do it barefoot and stand just hip width apart, right? And we can assess before right now range of motion, or if you've already been doing some single leg stands, you can stand on one leg and use that as your assessment right now. I'm going to do a range of motion assessment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate and keep my feet on the ground, see how far I can go. So we want to have an assessment, and we're going to reassess after. Right now I'm going to look over my thumbs and see how far I rotated, just to have a reference point, and I rotate this way and I see how far I can rotate over to this side with keeping my feet on the ground. Again, you can, as an assessment, do standing on one leg as well if you like, and see if this directly improved your balance, the exercise we're going to do. But if you haven't really done much balancing, don't stand on one leg. You could also put your feet close together and use that as a balancing reference point. So you can just balance feet together right now, or one leg, and that would be your assessment. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna put the feet hip width apart, and now we have an assessment, right? So now we're going to put the feet hip width apart, and we're going to slowly shift the weight to the front and the back. The sole of your feet stays on the ground the whole time. Okay. So now kind of shift forward and stop and ask yourself, where do I feel pressure? Is that the same left and right? We're going to roll now. We'll have the pressure more on the ball of your foot. So now we're going to roll a little bit in towards the big toe. So the big toe hits the ground. Good. Now we're going to come back, shift back to the heels. Feel the pressure on the heels. So where do you feel the pressure? Where's no pressure? So if you're on the heels, the ball of your foot has not as much weight, right? So we're going to press again forward to the toes, into the ground. Press the toes a little bit into the ground and release them. And just feel the difference. Now let's do a reassessment. You can either stand again on one leg, see if there's a difference, or I'm going to do my range of motion assessment. And I got definitely more range of motion, which means that was good input to my brain. So if you did the assessment of standing on one leg or with the feet together, if you noticed better balance, obviously that is a good input. If you have less balance or less range of motion, then that might be really a sign that you need to improve your input from your feet. There's different exercises you can do for that, but I'm not going to cover them in this video. And it was the same range of motion, the same kind of balance. If you didn't really notice a difference, then in this particular exercise did not really make a huge impact on your brain, neither in a positive way or challenging way. So this exercise might not be the one for you to do, but you could do it because it's not really impacting you negatively either. So it's not a threat response. So what you just did was improve sensory resolution, not strength, not stability, clarity, right? Because the brain needs accurate maps to allow movement. If the map is blurry, it reduces the output. So you don't lose balance because you're weak. You lose it because your map is unclear. And this particular exercise really gives your brain a better map. Now let's go a little deeper, because balance is not just physical, it's also cognitive. Think about this. Have you ever lost balance when you were distracted, or when you were thinking too much, or you were talking? Most people fall actually when they're distracted by something. And that's not random, that's load. Your brain has limited capacity, and when load increases, precision decreases. And that's why high performers often feel more unstable when they're stressed or overwhelmed. Not because they're less capable, but because the system is simply overloaded. So imagine you're walking, right, on some uneven ground while checking your phone, and your brain is splitting the resources, right? And suddenly you feel less stable. That's not your body failing, that's prioritizing. So now let's train that. Actually, you can train the cognitive load while you're doing something else. So stand on one leg and count backwards. So we're going to stand on one leg. Now count backwards from 50 by 3. Yep, so that's 50, 47, 44. So keep going, okay? And notice what happens as you're counting backwards, right? How's your balance? Now stop. Let's reset and try again. But this time, slow your counting, right? So now you're going to count much slower. 50, 47. And I also want you to soften a little bit your focus and do it much slower. Focus on your breathing as well. Is there any difference? So you just train cognitive motor integration, the ability to maintain stability under load. That's real life balance, right? It's not about just standing there, but actually doing a cognitive loaded exercise while you're standing on one leg, for example, or feet together. Balance is not tested when things are easy, it's tested when your brain is busy. And this is where the shift happens, right? You're not someone who needs better balance. You're someone who needs to have more adaptable systems, because longevity is not about the perfect movement, it's about maintaining options. Again, let me say that. It's not about perfect movement, it's about maintaining options. And now let's do another exercise. Let's take an object. I'm gonna, take a pen. I'm gonna take a pen and I'm gonna hold it in front of me. So hopefully you follow along too. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move with it. So I'm gonna move the pen and I'm gonna move in that direction. I move the pen over here, moving in this direction. Again, you can use whatever you want. So I'm gonna move it up and I'm gonna let my body move with that. I'm gonna keep my eyes on the pen and I'm gonna move my body with it. You might wanna even turn more and coming back and follow it, going through space, okay? So the key is it's a kind of moving wherever you move the pen. And this is when you do it yourself. It's a great one to do with a partner. If they move the object and you kind of following as you go through it, it almost turns into a way of dance, right? It's actually a form of play. And the key is also to change the speed. So it doesn't always have to be the same speed. You want to change the speed as well. What's happening here? It's the integration of vision, movement, timing, but more importantly, it introduces unpredictability. And that's critical because the brain needs variability. And to build the confidence, it's not about the repetitions, right? So by moving, we're getting and changing, and the way we're standing on our feet, that's a change. There's variation. So repetition builds habits, but variation builds capability. So how do you actually integrate all this into your training? Not as extra, but inside what you're already doing. And that's important because you don't want to add time, right? So you can do it before training, right? You can just add it to your workouts. You could do a quick little foot mapping, improve that clarity. You could do it during the training at cognitive load. You can change, that a little bit intentionally. Don't do it too much, too overwhelming. You can do it after training, just, do a quick little exercise, or in between, in between sets. So if you do squats in the gym, you could add an exercise in between before doing your next rep. Your next set. I said that wrong. But the key is here, use variability, right? Keep it more play-based and expand on your options. Become more creative. And most people, again, train more for output, more reps, more weight, but longevity really requires something else. It requires a system that can adapt under changing conditions, because life is not predictable and neither is aging. So you don't stay capable by controlling everything. You stay capable by adapting to anything. And if this content resonated with you, or you feel like someone else should hear this, please share this video and make sure to subscribe to my channel. I upload a new science-based video every week. And the key is really to start integrating a different approach into your already workout and your habits and your routines. I'm Heike Fallon. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.